public input, public feedback, and then come back in 2 weeks and then reconsider this motion. So what I would propose is that we just take 2 weeks and we allow for all members of the audience and members of our PACs and PACs to take a look at this, give us feedback. Written feedback is much appreciated. Anybody who wants to come next time would be welcome to come, and then we move ahead. So that would just be my proposal for that.
Commissioner James. Any questions of the other commissioners?
Well, I would just ask Paulo here, what her thought on that is in terms of, the urgency of this action today.
Well, let me be clear that the list today is, again, a supplemental list to the original action. The original action is not before you, so this is just the supplemental list. The vetting process for this list is exactly the same as the projects that have already been identified in the implementation plan. And I think one of the most important aspects of both the original list and this list is that just because the projects that are on this list doesn't mean that they're going to start construction tomorrow. There is still the environmental review that needs to happen with each of these projects. There's still the negotiations and the details in and around ensuring that the amounts that are identified are the correct amounts. There's still a whole series of public processes in and around each of these projects that need to happen once they get implemented. So by including these projects on the supplemental list within the original scope of the cooperation agreement, we're not saying that this is the end-all be-all for this particular process and this particular project. And I think that from our interactions with both the state and with the city, both the mayor's office and the city council's offices, it's clear to us that the state is progressing with trying to resolve this budget crisis, and any day they really can put forward legislation that will impact our ability to contract and to be able to commit our dollars. And I think that from our perspective, the City Council has waited for the board to consider the supplemental action before they consider the full cooperation agreement. And I think that any delay in that would really hinder our ability to successfully ensure that redevelopment within these project areas actually happens the way we envisioned it in our 5-year implementation plan.
So what does an additional 2 weeks do to this list or this process or the original list?
It delays the original action. It delays the original co-op agreement. It delays the original list. It delays the supplemental list. Again, we anticipated that should the board act today, then the council would consider the item at its next meeting in sometime this week. So it does delay the action significantly.
She's not giving accurate information about the legislature. I have personal knowledge.
I just want to say that to add a little bit more explanation as to why I think we should wait for 2 weeks. The original list we put together so quickly, and I understand why we did. It's very hard for a person who doesn't have intimate knowledge with our operations to understand. It really was. It was just a long list. This list is much better. It's by project area, it has description, it has individual projects. I found it much easier, and I think a number of publics will find it much easier to look at this list and get a good sense that we really do the kind of thing that our employees were talking about. Fundamentally, we're about revitalization of our forest communities and really making life better for our forest people. I think, and I know that these are part of the clarify, it's the same columns, it's the same descriptors, and the same organization as we used in the original list.
The only differentiation that I understand is that this has a dollar amount that we didn't have in the previous one. And the second point is that this is also a supplement. So these projects that reside on this list would only come into play in the event that a project on the original list fell by the wayside for whatever reason.
And when the action was transmitted to council after your board meeting, we did put the dollar amount in the column, so it's available for public review, have a full dollar amount of that.
think that most people are not savvy enough to be able to figure out kind of Google files versus what's on our website. I also was going to suggest that we put up our implementation plans, that really are the ones that contain these projects. We put those up in a way that's really easily understandable and accessible to most of the public. Because I do know we have, at very least, we have a big PR problem. And we have a lot of people really mad at us. I personally have been stopped by many people. So I think for us to bend over backwards a little bit to make sure that people have all the information about what we're thinking, what our mission is, what the thinking is behind each of these projects, and the fact that there is all this thinking behind each of these projects, that they're part of the implementation plan that goes, with each of our project areas, that we would gain a lot of, I think, maybe we don't change everybody's mind, but at least we actually do what we're supposed to do, which is really making sure that the public has the opportunity to get the most information in the most understandable format.
And just to clarify, Commissioner, the implementation plans are currently on the webpage, and they're accessible through the linking through the region, and each of the project areas are listed. And then you can look at the work program and the information.
What I would suggest is that if there's a way for us to cross-link, so if we take this board memo and we nicely divided it up by redevelopment area, and it's next to each list, you actually have a link on the page that says like the implementation plan. And I don't know if that would be really hard. Then right there,
We're a bit stressed right now.
well, I would say that this would be a
This is on an Excel sheet, so you can't really interface the technology with that.
You could actually put counter links like we do all the time, my organization. I think it'd be worth, really worth it.
Any other comments? Mr. Oakley?
I'm just wondering, if we do wait that period of time, is there a risk that we could lose this opportunity?
Based on the staff assessment, yes, there would be an opportunity.
She's absolutely not telling the truth.
Mr. Colfer?
She's not telling the truth.
Mr.
Colfer,
Colfer, please just honor the process and be polite. Give us the opportunity to discuss this in the manner in which we're trying to get.
Can I answer for 30 seconds after?
No,
She's
you
lying.
can't.
We've granted you your time to speak.
Scollier,
Please continue.
let him go.
So, by putting this off to another 2 weeks at this board level, then that adds an additional 7-day period of council action. So that's the right period. And we're looking at then the last week of February, and we understand that the budget hearings at the Assembly and those the Senate are starting this week, and potentially there are legislative action that could be potentially reduced as early as
The council is scheduled to take action on this next week, and they know whether or not we take this action today. And however that occurs will be in their hands. So I don't think that the council is going to put taking that action. That's just my assessment.
So your assessment would be that if we don't take this action today, the original action will continue to move forward, and it wouldn't cause a delay. It would just continue to move forward on the base initiate action.
They could take additional actions and amend our actions if they wish.
Well, we wouldn't get the supplemental list.
You wouldn't get
And the danger there is we do know not every project in our 5-year implementation plan can come to fruition. We don't have enough money to finance everything on that list. So this gives us some breathing room to for certain projects to be the process that we're on the original list and these backfill projects. And everyone, again, goes through a process unto itself. It doesn't automatically happen because it's on this list. There's nothing that would stop our normal processes from taking place, which includes everything Mr. Charles spoke to.
Motions are approved.
I would second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now,
A motion that was made was to approve, are we moving on the 2 weeks, or are we moving on the?
We talked about it a little bit.
So we didn't amend the motion.
Right.
Okay.
So that's it, 3-2. Motion passed. Next, CEO's report.
I don't have
Public
anything.
comment, public comment.
That's all.
Can I just say one thing? Regardless of approval or not, when we try